Alrighty guys, what's going on? My name is Garen Belmont. How y'all doing today? So the developers of TFD just recently wrapped up the portion where they shared all the new content that's going to be coming for Season 3, Episode 2, so I wanted to share that with you as well as give my honest thoughts and opinions. Now, I would like to say I apologize for the technical issues I was having. I was trying to live stream my reaction, but unfortunately I was having some technical issues that was leading to the stream lagging, and it was just a very bad experience for the people watching, so I want to take the time to apologize for that. Hopefully I can get those ironed out before November 6th comes out, so I can actually live stream the update, or me playing the update. So hopefully I can get all that stuff ironed out. But with that being said, let's get into the actual update. So the first thing the developers talked about was going to be the story and how it's going to take place after the events of Axiom Plains. So it's going to be in the Axiom Plains still, but it's going to take place after the last story that we had. So where Captain Harris was, injured and stuff like that, and then we got Nell back, and so now one of the focuses that they put on that was going to be Alpha. So hopefully it's going to be really good. Actually, I think the developers have been doing a really good job in terms of the story ever since 2.5 when we got Serena and stuff like that. I think the developers have been doing a fantastic job so far. So with that out of the way, the next up is going to be the new dungeon. Now, the developers didn't really talk too much or show too much about the dungeon. The only thing that we really know for certain is that the final boss will have mechanics that it will combat Serena. So it's going to kind of be Serena-proof, I guess you could say, which is something the developers have been doing a lot of because Serena has been such a dominant descendant in the meta currently. The developers are kind of indirectly nerfing her by making the content around her a lot more, a lot more Serena-proof. Another thing they also talked about was some of the art direction and the fact that you're actually going to see colossi that are going to be strewn up almost like specimens or displays, which I said in my when I was live streaming my reaction, I did say that this was pretty unsettling and this was actually kind of creepy, but I thought it was actually pretty cool, so I can't wait to see what the final dungeon actually looks like. So now, the thing that I was mostly excited about with this upcoming update was going to be Harris, the new Descendant. So originally, I had thought that she was a non-attribute Descendant, and I could have sworn the developers did say that she was non-attribute in the anniversary livestream, but I guess I was mistaken, or maybe they changed it at some point. So she's actually going to be a toxic attribute Descendant, which is weird because none of her abilities give off that toxic attribute vibe. So I feel like she was supposed to be non-attribute, but the developers switched her to toxic because we already have so many non-attribute descendants. So she's also going to be getting 2 new Transcendent mods. The first one's going to be safety training, and this one's going to give her a barrier when she uses her second skill. Her second skill is kind of like where she jumps up in the air, and she can do a slam very similar to Ajax, but when you use the ability, her other 3 abilities are also going to change, and you can actually use it and slam in a specific direction, which I thought was pretty cool. And then her next Transcendent mod is going to be Focus Supervision. This is going to change her first, fourth, and passive, and it makes it so that she's going to fire lasers from her first and fourth, and then her passive is just going to be buffing her damage output. I'm guessing it's going to coincide with her unique resource. If I'm not mistaken, she doesn't use MP, but I could be wrong about that. I kind of don't really remember if she uses MP. Hold up, I got the stream pulled up. Wait, let me see. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to see it eventually. Don't worry. Yeah, so she is not going to use MP, so she is actually going to have a unique resource, which is pretty awesome. So next up, let's talk about the next thing the developers talked about, which was Ancestral modules. Now, these are pretty huge. This is a pretty big thing that they're going to be adding into the game. So these are basically Transcendent modules that go into the base module slots, which is crazy. And in my notes, I had wrote that they kind of remind me of Riven mods from Warframe. Only this time around, they're actually equipped to our Descendants instead of our weapons. I don't think there are Riven mods for Warframes in that game, but I'm pretty sure it's specifically for weapons. But basically, these mods will have random stats on them, and these random stats can be powerful enough to make you unequip 2 modules, which would leave room for just you to boost more aspects of a character. And I think this is a massive W for the, just for the way that they're adding power to the game without adding like a new system, because ever since the launch of the game, the developers have added a bunch of new systems. They've added arcade tuning, they've added weapon cores, they've added inversion reinforcement, they've added the mutation cells, they've added trigger modules. But I'm really happy that they're starting to take a much more I don't know what the word would be, a much more, instead of adding a new system, they're, of course, making it much more compact, I guess is the best word. So now it fits into the module system. But with the Ancestral modules, the developers also talked about the trading system that's going to be coming out in the game, which is another big turning point for TFD. So players can actually trade Trigger and Ancestral modules for Caliber. Yes, you heard that right. This means that there is going to be a way for people to actually earn Caliber in the game. Now, eventually, I feel like we're going to get to the point where modules are probably, like, we're probably going to need more stuff in there that isn't modules. But I think to start things out, this is honestly a really good step in the right direction. And the developers did also say there will be things like a trading fee, but in terms of the Ancestral modules, they said that there's going to be like a 1-month grace period before you're actually able to trade these for Caliber. So I think they kind of confused me the way they were talking about this, but it seems like Trigger modules will be allowed to be traded at launch, and then Ancestral modules are going to be modules are going to be added in December. That's how I took that as, but if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comment section below. So not really, they were kind of confusing me with the wording there. And then they also did show off the fact that there will be an official online trade market website, very similar to Warframe Marketplace. So you'll be able to go online or use the companion app, and you'll be able to look for modules, and you'll be able to find someone who's trading modules. It's very similar to that of Warframe. You hit the buy button, it will send a whisper to that player who is online, and then that player will then have the ability to invite you to a party, and then from there trade. And if you don't have any Caliber, I was about to say platinum. If you don't have any Caliber, don't worry, you can still trade, but the trade fee is going to be deducted from whatever the person was going to give you in terms of Caliber. The way they showed it off was if you have 0 Caliber and someone's giving you 40 Caliber and there is a 4 Caliber fee, then that means you're going to get 36 Caliber back. So it's going to take it away from the fee. So next up is going to be the Battle Pass. I have to say the developers have been doing a fantastic job with the Battle Pass. The fact that they're adding more rewards that we as players want, giving us more value for that $10 that we're spending on the premium version of the Battle Pass, it still is a fantastic way to get things like skins and stuff like that for Descendants. And so in this Battle Pass, we're going to be getting a night set, I think is what it was called. We're going to be getting a night set. We're also going to be getting a Transcendent skin for the new Hypernova sword. We're also going to be getting a bunch of new weapon skins as well. And then in the Battle Pass supply shop, we're also going to be getting Harris's NPC skin. So the skin that we usually see her as, we're going to be getting that, very similar to what we had with Nell and her NPC outfit in the Battle Pass supply shop, which is awesome. I'm super happy about that. Next up, let's talk about the 2 new weapons that are going to be coming. So the 2 new weapons are going to be Hypernova and Hivemaster. So Hypernova is going to be the new sword, and its special ability is going to make it so it has that it has toe. So you basically throw the sword, and it's going to group up enemies around it. So I'm guessing as you upgrade the unique ability, it's going to have a bigger range in terms of its tow ability. And then also it had the innate chill damage. So next up is Hivemaster. Now this weapon was absolutely wicked. I have to say this weapon was just super cool looking. I absolutely loved it. It's unique compared to anything that we've gotten in TFD onward, and I'm really happy the developers are starting to take this direction of making the ultimate weapons look and feel more unique than what they already are. So Hivemaster will launch a bug at a specific target, and then when you shoot this target, it will then trigger this almost like Voltia type electric currents to other enemies. So it's going to be a mobbing weapon, and the developers did say that if you use this weapon will probably perform pretty well in Void Erosion Purge because of how tanky the enemies are. So we're going to have to wait and see when we get our hands on that new weapon. So next up is going to be the new modules. Now, I didn't put every single new module that's going to be coming into the game. I just kind of wrote how many are going to be coming. So we have 30 new Ultimate Sword mods. We have 18 new regular Ultimate mods. So these are going to be a combination of both Descendant and Weapon mods. And then we're going to be getting 19 new Mutant Cells in the game as well. So honestly, there's going to be a lot here. We're going to have to wait and see, you know, what's good, what's bad, and what probably needs buffed, but I think this is, again, overall a step in the right direction for helping players, you know, try out new things and possibly discover new ways to, you know, build their Descendants, especially since we are getting the Ancestral modules that is going to free up like 1 or 2 slots for our Descendants. So I think that's really cool. Next up, we're going to be getting 2 new external component sets. The first one, what they showed off, was going to be Hazmat Disposal Team. This one is going to synergize really well with Harris, which is typically what the developers do. When a new Descendant comes out, they typically make a external component set that synergizes well with that Descendant. And then the other one is going to be Pulsating Power. So next up, let's talk about the 3 trigger modules that are going to be coming into the game. So the first one is going to be Steel Vanguard, the second one is going to be Relative Speed, and the third one is going to be Domino Drive. Now, I apologize, I forgot to actually write in my notes what these do, but basically Steel Vanguard, they showed it off with Harris, and I'm guessing when you use some kind of ability that has like a charge effect to it, what happens is there will be like an AoE that pulsates around the player, and depending on what reactor you have, it's actually going to change the element or the attribute of that pulse, and you'll actually see visual representation of that, because a lot of people with things like Storm Bullet, as well as I forget the other name of the trigger module, but basically these 2 modules also have this ability, but because there was no visual representation, a lot of people thought it was a bug and not an actual feature. So I'm happy that the developers are making visual changes to make sure that players know that this is something that they can actually do, which is pretty cool. Next up is going to be the Relative Speed. Now, they showed this off on Viessa, and they said basically when you use a ability with slowing effect, it's going to build up 50 stacks of, you know, relative speed, and then at the very end, what's going to happen is when you shoot your gun, it's going to do like a massive pulse. And then Domino Drive, I'm actually not sure what Domino Drive does. I think that was when I was having like some internet issues. No, I'm sorry. That's not when I just forgot to write it down. I apologize. Next up is going to be the Haley balance. So Haley is going to be getting a lot of love when it comes to this upcoming update. So she's going to be getting 2 new Transcendent modules, and the developers are also making it so that her third ability that slows her movement speed is now, instead of being 2.5 per second, it's actually going to be 1 per second, which is pretty big change. And so in terms of her 2 new Transcendent modules, she's going to be getting one called Camouflage Sniping, which makes it so that Haley is now the second Descendant in the game next to Sharon that can actually use a camouflage ability. And when you hit an enemy in their head, it's actually going to do a massive explosion. And then the next one is going to be Cold Heart, and this one makes it so that it kind of improves. It makes it so that Haley can't use her her unique weapon anymore, but what it does is it improves her like close range capabilities. It makes it so that her third skill actually boosts her movement speed instead of slowing her down, and then she kind of gets this pseudo bunny frost version of doing her massive explosion. So I'm really interested to see what players come up with in terms of Cold Heart. And then for the last stuff, there's also going to be some Wall Crasher rebalance, so they're making it so that Wall Crasher now has multi-hit defensive system, which makes it so that it's going to be combating Serena, and then also they made it so that Wall Crasher now is a little bit more susceptible to crits, so Descendants that can crit can now do more damage to Wall Crasher. They're trying to balance it out between Serena doing the most damage and other Descendants doing less damage, so they're trying to make it so that it's a little bit more balanced. They're also going to be making some improvements to Void Erosion Purge. The change that they talked about is, Void Erosion Purge Challenge Mode. They're making it so that now every season it's going to be one specific Legion, so they said to start out with they're going to be doing Legion of Darkness, but of course as time goes on they're going to be doing the other Legion of Breach, what have you. And then last but not least, photo mode. They're adding lighting for photo mode. So I want to give you guys my honest thoughts about this update. I think there's a lot of good stuff in this update. It's pretty standard to what we usually get in an update, but I think some of the stuff here could help propel certain aspects about the game, and I think it's honestly genuinely a step in the right direction. Harris looks fantastic. She looks like she's going to be a part of the crew of Descendants that have been, they've been doing a really good job in terms of balancing and not making them feel overpowered, but still making them feel useful. But of course, I will have to get my hands on Harris. Ancestral modules look like a great addition to the game, and this is going to be high tier loot, so it's going to be very grindy, and the developers did say that they are going to be limiting how many Ancestral modules you can get in a given period of time, so we're just going to have to wait and see how much. And then we can also farm Ancestral modules from multiple pieces of content, but the most reliable one is going to be Axiom Plains. But I think Ancestral modules are going to be honestly a great addition, and like I said, they said, or the developers said, that this is going to be freeing up, at least 1 or 2 slots on our Descendant, which is going to help us, possibly build, in different ways for our Descendants. So we're just going to have to wait and see once we get our hands on the system. And then the Haley balance, honestly, is fantastic. I've been wanting them to balance Haley for quite a while now, so I'm happy that they finally got to it. But overall, I think this update looks fantastic. The developers did show off like the Bayonetta collaboration. They also showed some of the skins that are going to be coming in November, as well as November 20th. So, I mean, when we look at it on paper, the update itself is going to be, very good in a lot of different cases. We're going to have a new battle pass to work for. We're going to have new high-end loot to work towards, 2 new weapons. Hive Master looks very cool, and I'm really excited about that. 3 new trigger modules to help our builds and, what have you. And then also the Haley balance is going to make it so that Haley is now going to be a Descendant, people are going to, build for and possibly make new builds for. So I think there's a lot of good here, but at the end of the day, it's still a pretty standard update to what we've gotten before, maybe just slightly more in terms of the the amount of modules and mutant cells that we're getting. But overall, I think this update is going to be really good. Now, I have been very negative when it comes to TFD, and I want to say that I'm not necessarily apologizing for criticizing the game and giving my feedback, but I am apologizing for the extremes that I have been displaying. In terms of my most recent community post, I felt like that post was a little bit too much, and it was more of a venting of frustration after the what happened to New World, and I ended up taking it out on the TFD community, which is just completely uncool, and I do apologize for that. But I'm not apologizing for criticizing the game, giving my feedback in my own way. If you don't like the way I do things on my channel, you do not have to watch my content. And that's That's how I feel. It's literally that simple. If you don't like how I construct myself, if you don't like how I do my videos, that's on you, buddy. You can 100% watch another content creator who does it better than me. So that's on you. But anyway, overall, I think this update looks great. I'm really excited for it. I end up taking a week off of work just so I can play this update. So I'm super excited to get my hands on Harris, the Ancestral modules, try out the trading system maybe, and then also get my hands on Hive Master and Hypernova. So overall, I think this is going to be a great update, and on paper, it looks to be the best update that we've gotten in Season 3. So cross my fingers, I don't eat those words. But with that being said, guys, my name is Garen Belmont, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.